And at a more macro level, how do we develop policies and funding strategies in the private sector to make sure that the funding that we give for violence prevention is going to where the violence is most occurring? Going back to, if you don't know where 80% of your gunfire is going, those funds can only go to what they know about and what's getting reported to the police. And most often, what's being reported to the police is not exactly where the gunfire is occurring. If you know in a particular city, there are 3 blocks that they have 8 times the gunfire of every other block. It's pretty common sense to us for violence prevention program and services and intervention that we focus on those particular blocks. But if we're not sharing the data and using the data about where the gun violence is happening, we may send those resources to the people who are the loudest. And those may be people who have the best government connections, who have the loudest voice, who has a family member who's most connected to politics or clergy. That may not always be where the most gunfire is occurring. Where the most gunfire is occurring may not always be where the people who are shooting and being shot live, but that gives us a pretty good indication for community-based community violence intervention groups, violence interrupters, and other outreach staff, and where they need to focus their time and attention. And so when I think about it in the future, it's my hope that the public health organizations, the health organizations look at this data about which blocks are being most affected. They're able to see which families need services, provide assessment, treatment, and diagnoses, early diagnoses to prevent future harm for those children, and particularly the youth that have to go to school the next day. And then a grandiose idea, maybe when you have a summer jobs program, you set aside a portion of those summer jobs to go directly to those neighborhoods and specifically those blocks who are disproportionately experiencing gunfire, so that you can take those youth who are most likely to be doing the shooting and getting shot away from that environment when it may be most violent. We look at it from a correction standpoint and a re-entry standpoint. If you know somebody is being released from jail and they're moving back to one of those blocks that has disproportionate gunfire, maybe we want to find an alternative location for them to go to instead of sending them to a war zone and then wondering why they may be carrying firearms or they may be displaying antisocial and violent behaviors. Moving ahead to the funders, philanthropic organizations, foundations. If you want to help reduce violence, and particularly childhood trauma and family trauma in communities that are bearing the brunt of the majority of gunfire, that you will use this data precisely where the gunfire is happening the most and mandate that your resources, your funding, be used to support the children, youth, families in those specific areas before others, because we know that they are disproportionately being affected by that gunfire, and then measure the impact on reducing harms for those specific individuals in those specific communities.